Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Hacking Visual Studio. And as usual, I'm your host, Matt Kristensen. And John, you're with us yet again.
I am. Hello. It's been a busy week.
I've heard that there's been like a .NET Conf. There's been like .NET 6 release, Visual Studio 2022 release.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. A lot of updates.
A lot of updates. So today's episode is about building tool windows in Visual Studio, and we're on kind of on official business today, John. Remember last week we were on official business to create like a or not last week, last time was that last week, where we create an extension for converting VS Code extensions to Visual Studio.
That's right. And that was kind of taking an existing tool that had to be run from command line, and you created an extension for it, right?
Yes. So I've been talking to the program manager and the engineering team that made that tool. And they asked me to like make an extension out of it because, you know, they have a lot of other things that they need to prioritize. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. And so that's what we did.
You're kind of good at that.
Yeah, I used it today. I created a new theme pack today that I uploaded to the marketplace called the GitHub themes. So on VS Code, you have a theme pack with I think 6 themes from GitHub. They're like made by GitHub, and so I took those and converted those to Visual Studio, and that was just a real pleasure to do with that tool, with that extension that we built.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like how you say we built it. Like I typed 0 lines of code. I just heckled you while you wrote it. But
well, that's not entirely true because the viewers oftentimes help me identify the mistakes I make as I go along. Right?
All right.
So I think it's a collaborative effort. That's how I like to look at it.
Oh, good.
And today we have another kind of official ask from one of the product teams in Visual Studio. So today the ask is, what would it look like if we had a way to dynamically provide help to new users of Visual Studio?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so we were kind of brainstorming back and forth about how to do this like several weeks ago, months ago, actually. And Jason, who's the program manager, he made some mock-ups, and we can put them on the screen here.
Oh, yeah.
If you can share my screen. So imagine you had a tool window called like Contextual Help Explorer. That's a horrible name, but the idea is that the content of this tool window is dynamic. So you can see here, look at the one to the right. You can see here, it says, hey, you're working on a .NET project. Here's some tutorials for .NET. Then underneath is like, hey, here's some NuGet packages you're using. Do you want help with those? Let me link into, provide you some help. It could also be, hey, you're typing in a C# file. Do you need, tutorial for C#, some video content, all sorts of stuff. And then the last one, there's one there that could be, hey, you've been using commands a lot today without using their keyboard shortcuts. Here are the ones that you've been using the most that could save you the most time if you use the keyboard shortcut, and then present them with what the shortcut is.
This is great. It's funny that this is something that has come up from time to time. I mean,
yes,
I know years and years ago we like brainstormed this thing, and I work with Scott Hanselman and some other people, and we were like, hey, how cool would it be if and we even talked about like including like video, or something, and you can go through a tutorial and it's got like video and code snippets to copy and paste and all sorts. Like you could really take this pretty far.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So I think those things that I mentioned here are just examples, right? You can think of even more things to put in here. So anyway, so that's the idea. So it's a tool window. It's one that you can have open all the time. You can put it on a secondary monitor, whatever you want to, right? As a new user of Visual Studio, you kind of want to. The idea is you want to have it around all the time, potentially. So
yeah, okay.
And we're not going to look so much into like how to do this. Should we use a web view for this? Should we do like? I think we're just gonna do SAML. And the reason I don't want to do a web view for this is because some of these things have to come from like Visual Studio APIs. Like if I need to figure out, or if I need to pivot the view between if I have a solution with 2 projects, one C++ and one .NET project, like depending on which one of them is the active project, I want things to change, right, in this window really quickly. So just the level of dynamic content and how it's supposed to work, I think it's better suited that we do this in WPF.
Now, if you do WPF, you can still incorporate, you can still use a web view inside of WPF too. So.
Totes. Okay, so let's do it. Let's create a new project. And this one, we're just going to write tool window. We have research project with tool window. What should we call this? Let's call this Learn Explorer, Help Explorer. What should we call it?
Well, let me see. It's contextual help, but I could see it being more than that. I'm trying to think through.
Yeah.
I guess I would start with Help Explorer.
That's a very Visual Studio-like name, isn't it? Like something.
Yeah,
Explorer.
it is. Why don't we call it Flippy?
Flippy? Clippy. Oh no. Flippy. I like Flippy. Okay, so, and here's a funny thing. We need our tool window to automatically pop up at a specific time. When should it show up? So I would argue that if no solution is loaded, it has one type of information, right? And so we want this to be, so let's see here how, my tool window visibility. So type of my tool window pane. Let's see, what is it? Command. I'm just going to look up what I've done here previously for stuff like this. Was that developer news? Was it developer news? What was it? Why is there no developer news in here? Oh, there is.
Oh.
I think there is. Did I do it in this one? I might not have. Oh, that was the wrong file. Here we go. Yes.
There it is.
There it is. So let's just copy this one in. There we go. Okay. So this one is controlling the visibility. When should my tool window be visible? And I'm going to say when solution has single project, when solution has multiple projects, then we want when there's no solution. What else did this have? An empty solution. And let's see here. Should it always be here? That's the question. So here's how tool windows work in Visual Studio. Let's run this. Let's. I want to just give this a more descriptive name. We call this instead of my tool window, we call this Help Explorer, right? Help Explorer. All right. Okay. Weird how sometimes when I open the VSCT file, it doesn't open it with the XML editor. It opens it as plain text. Sorry. No.
That thing there where you pass in the different constants for the different window visibilities, is there a way, can you, like sometimes with those constants, you can like and them to, or, you know what I mean? You can use an or and put them all on one line.
Yeah, but not for this one.
Okay.
Not for this one. Oh, that's a nice one. Maybe that.
Yeah.
I think, did I already build? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, here we go. See, I've been playing with, here's my tool window. See,
nice.
It's visible from the beginning. See this? And notice this. It's visible from the very beginning. And in provide tool window, we need to zoom in here. so people can see what I'm doing.
Mhm.
I said that this should exist in the wherever Solution Explorer exists. So that's why it's tapped over here. Yeah. This is, let me do another theme here. Thank you. Okay. So my tool window now exists over here. That's the tool window that we just created. And we should have the Help Explorer under View, Other Windows, Help Explorer right here. Oh, that was a different icon than what I thought. Okay. Oh no, I didn't change it in time for when I ran this. Anyway, so it's right here. Now, if I open a solution and I start debugging, I don't know if you noticed this, John, but the window configuration is different when you debug, right? All of a sudden, all your auto windows, locals, stack trays windows, and all this sort of stuff becomes visible. And as soon as you stop debugging, it goes away, right?
Mhm.
So there's different states within Visual Studio that applies to the visibility of all these different tool windows. And once you made a change, it remembers that change for next time you enter that state. So
Okay.
right now, we haven't said that we support the state of debugging. And I'm not sure we should, but if I wanted to make sure that it stays open, then I could do like here debugging. Okay. Debugging. There's also one that's that says not debugging. When it's not building or debugging, you can show it. But as soon as you start building or debug, then it should go away. So there's a bunch of these that are could be relevant, right? There's really a lot. Just look at how long this list is.
It seems like there's a combination. Like you may want it when you have single project, but only when debugging, or all those sorts of things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe that you want to be precise like that. Okay. Do we have any questions so far? Hey,
No.
Sachin is here. Hey, Sachin.
Oh, cool.
I don't know. We got a lot of people saying hello from all over the world. That's always wonderful. Help Guide Explorer. Yeah, that's a good name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's go ahead and start building our stuff. So, John, you are the SAML expert.
Oh, wow.
On this live stream.
Haven't been called that for a while.
You used to be called that?
I used to be okay at XAML, but the Silverlight version of XAML.
Oh,
was a little bit simpler
for the phone.
And I did Silverlight even before that, like when it was a web browser thing.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a thing for a while where we would use it to build like the video viewers, so we would use it for conference like PDC and different build and different Microsoft conferences. So I worked on a few of those.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay, so I got a stack panel. So here's what I'm thinking. Just because data binding and MVVM view models and all this sort of stuff is like pretty heavy duty, right? I'm just thinking I won't do that for this one. I'm just going to basically new up a new control and inject it into the stack panel.
I'll allow it.
From code behind. That's okay, right?
Yeah. People get really like dogmatic about those or whatever, but I kind of agree. If it's something simple, sometimes that's kind of overkill.
Yeah, right. What should we call these blocks? Do you do like panel? Like, do you do prefixes like this? PNL, widgets, txt, name, whatever.
Sure.
I don't know. Okay. Okay, so let's do this, and then F7. Okay, there's no button click, so we can remove that.
Yep.
So here is what I'm thinking that we should be doing. I think that we should have a JSON file where you specify some of these things. So, for instance, if the active project is, what would that be? That would be if the active project is a like ASP.NET Core, then there's an array of links specified in a JSON file.
That sounds good. Yep.
That sounds pretty okay, right? So let's
Yep.
so we can do, we'll call that schema.
Sure.
Schema, does that make sense? Okay. Schema, and then we just call, and then we have schema.json. Yeah, let's just call it that. Schema.json. And then we also have, but before we even know what format it is, we want to have a, we need a, no, let's just start doing that. Okay, so the first thing we do, so this is,
question, would you want to have different ones? Do you want to split them out, like have a directory where there's like ASP links and, WPF links and load them separately, or would you just load them all in one file?
Yeah, I was actually thinking that what I would do is that I would say, I would do it like this. So here's a suggestion, because you could totally do what you're saying, or maybe we have one that's like, hey, this is the project one. Yeah, so let's. This has to do with project. So project. So okay, so project. It made a video at some point about like tips and tricks for working with JSON in Visual Studio. And notice here, I don't put quotes on. I just write the property and hit colon. Quotes automatically insert for me.
Magic.
Yes. So I think project or projects, and this should be an array. So you can have, this is a list of GUIDs. Unfortunately, I think that's how we're going to have to do it.
It's all GUIDs all the way down.
All the way down. And so project types, let's just peek at this. Oh. Why can I not go to definition? F12? Okay, here we go. ASP.NET Core, right?
Oh, wow.
C#. So here we got all these. So
now, couldn't you, I was going to say, couldn't you use the actual like name, the enum name?
Can we do it that way instead? So it's based on the enum?
I mean, that's a little easier to program against rather than requiring, it's easier to read, right?
That's true. Okay. So, but I'm thinking we could do, so let's say that all these ASP.NET ones are the same. All right. Sure. So, we do these. 4. Let's just say that this is fine.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so these are the projects, and then we have what's the text. Because if we look at what we got here, the data we need to present is like, it looks to be like there's some text, and then there's an array of links. So that seems to be fairly simple, right? So for ASP.NET, we say something like, you're working in a, you are in an ASP.NET. Oh. You're working in an ASP.NET project. And might find these links useful. Okay. The 2 else and useful? No.
1. Yeah.
And then we have links. So links, they should have a text.
Text and a URL, right?
And URL, exactly. So that could be like this, and then URL would be I don't even know. Do we own ASP.NET still? I guess
so. We
right?
do, but it redirects to .NET/ASP.NET.
Okay.
I'll get the exact.
Okay, it's fine. It doesn't matter for to get this going. Okay, so let's do one more. Getting started with ASP.NET. Racer tutorial. Like, let's
So I'm putting it in our chat where the because it actually you have to, like, it's .net.microsoft.com blah blah blah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So I think this is it, right?
Sure.
So you might be wondering, why have widgets here? And then why not just do this? Right? Why not? Because JSON can either be an array or it can be
so yeah, it's funny
that?
because I've gone back and forth with this a bit. One thing that can be nice if they are separate files is it makes it a little easier for people to edit and contribute to them. You know,
Yeah.
so like,
No, that's
yeah.
true. It was more like in an array, but it's because then now we can expand it to do more stuff in the future if this is an object.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm just going to copy all this jazz, and then we can go in here and then create projects.cs, and here I'm just going to say edit. Are you ready? Are you ready? I don't know if you've seen this in a long time, John. Paste special, paste JSON as classes.
Oh, I love this.
Boom.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yep.
There are cases where if you've got like a complicated thing, then there's some other sites and things that'll generate it. But for like, you know, relatively simple JSON, it does a great job.
Absolutely. I'm just going to fix these up. There we go. Okay, so that's projects, right?
Yep.
And so what I probably need is some sort of is a widget. Is that like we need an interface here? Anyway, let's just start with this.
Yeah.
So project, I need to be able to say, so let's do a private constructor on projects. Does that make sense? I don't even know if that makes sense. Private
to load it in, or
it's just because then we can say public static load. So public static projects load, because what we need to do now is that we need to grab the project JSON and deserialize it, right? So we need to get to the location of where we have. So we're gonna find the location of, so the directory. So the directory of our extension is located in, let's just get type of, so type of project assembly location. All right. So that gives us the DLL file, but we want to get one behind it. We want to get the directory. So path dot get directory. There we go. Get directory name. Okay, and so to find the project JSON file, we're going to say path combine directory, and then it's in the schema folder, and it's called project.json. Sweet. I want to make sure that I actually include this in my v6. So let's go in here. We're going to set the build action to content, and include in v6 to true.
And I think you also have to copy the output directory. You have to say, like, you're not going to.
No, do you know?
Because you're doing include in v6. Got it.
Yeah, do you know what the difference is?
Well, so this include in v6 means it's going to be distributed with the v6, right? That makes sense.
Yeah. So this is copy to output. So right now it's not set to copy to output. So if I build now, oh, it will actually fail because I'm not returning anything from this method. Anyway, No. So yeah, if it is in the output here, copy to output directory, that just means it gets listed in here next to the compiled v6 file.
Right. Which
It
is
has
not
nothing.
you want.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with whether or not it ends up inside the v6 container itself.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're not returning anything here. So let's return something. Let's read the JSON. So this is the file. Let's do JSON. That equals file.read all text from our file. Boom. And then we should be able to return JSON convert dot deserialize object, and we're going to serialize it into projects. And we're going to pass it in our JSON. Boom. Okay. This is pretty good. Pretty good. It's almost like we should base class this projects thing so we could use it for other things. But
Yeah.
let's not scale out just yet.
Yeah. Hey, we have a few questions that have come in.
Yep.
Here's a good one. So that paste special, is that an extension?
No, it's built in.
Built in. Yeah.
It's been in since Visual Studio 2012.
13 or something?
13. Definitely 13, but maybe it was 12.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you don't know about it. Like you're not going to accidentally find it. Like
right. There is an extension out there that is relatively new, and it actually does a better job at it. Like you saw here, how I had to like rename things to uppercase the first letter to do Pascal casing and stuff. This new extension is like, I think it automatically also puts on like, the data contract attributes and stuff like that for serialization. So that could be a cool one.
There's a few out there too that I've used in the past. There's like JSON to C# class is one, and then there's another one that's like JSON to C#.com. And those are helpful for if you've got, like, you can go in and you can customize it a bit. So you can say like add JSON property attributes or add fields or stuff like that. So
yeah.
That's cool. Question about Web Essentials for 2022. I do, assuming nothing or whatever.
Web Essentials itself, I don't think will come to 2022. I need to count all. So what Web Essentials is, it's an extension pack full of stuff, full of extensions for web developers. In 2022, actually since 16.10, so the 10th update to Visual Studio 2019, the CSS and HTML editors in Visual Studio was replaced by new language server protocol-based ones. And that actually broke a couple of the extensions that used the APIs of the previous language services. Because those APIs no longer exist. They now exist out of prog in a language server running, somewhere else. So there's no longer an API to access any of that stuff. And so those I have not been able to port. And those are the HTML tools and CSS tools in particular. But a bunch of the other stuff is already ported. So if you want to just grab the littler things, or the individual, then a lot of them are there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. I don't know. Is it possible to build an extension for Blend using V6 Community?
I have never done that. I also never used Blend, but I've never tried to. But the toolkit itself will work just fine, because the toolkit doesn't do kind of anything on its own. It just wraps the existing API, right?
Yeah.
So if those API endpoints are there, then it will underneath, and that will work. But it's untested. Yeah.
All right.
But that should be fine.
I just have to say, we're almost at 150 people watching. That's some pretty good turnout here.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
I am realizing,
async, right?
Shouldn't we do this asynchronously?
Yeah, so you do read all text async for one thing.
I agree. So to do that, I think I have to say about file reader, right?
Nope, I don't think so. It's new in .NET 6. You can do read all text.
This is not .NET 6.
Oh my goodness. Okay, but Can you, that's a question I've had. Can you use .NET 6 for this?
Oh.
Okay.
You can use C# 10 or whatever.
Or
Why is there no file reader? Oh, file stream.
stream. Can you use
Stream reader? Stream reader. Oh dear. That was hard.
I just wrote a thing that grabbed all the avatars for contributors to .NET 6. And I got to use all the .NET 6 stuff, and it was pretty neat. I was loading a JSON file, and I did read all text async, and I'm like, when did this happen? Yeah.
Read to end async. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What is this complaining about?
Yeah, that's interesting. Is it saying you shouldn't use the async?
That's new.
It is.
Now it says I need to use the suffix async.
Wait,
and now it complains about avoid async suffix. Oh my.
Are those two arguing with each other?
They are. You know, I'm going to keep this one because
I've seen that in general. Oh, you need to return a task.
Oh, John, you just saved the day. The thing is, like,
well, I didn't. That was Aiden. Yeah.
What now? Cannot be used with this type argument.
You need to.
What type of task are we talking about here? Is it the Visual Studio task?
Oh, it's doing. Yeah, you need.
No, it's just a threading task.
What is happening? Okay, what does it say? Using alias cannot be used with type arguments. What on earth?
What the devil?
Why is loading a JSON file hard?
What is this? What are the need to return task of T?
Oh my goodness! Come on now.
Okay. So okay. So now it works, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what that was about.
The squiggles are gone.
The squiggles are gone. You know, it is because I think I have in the package class, I'm using the new global C# 10. See, task equals, see, I'm using that.
Yeah.
So why would that not work? Okay, so the way we do tool windows now, we're dealing with async stuff. Now, I could, in my tool window code behind, right, I could do some, maneuvers to start loading things asynchronously, blocking the UI thread while it runs or something like that, because WPF is by definition the UI bound, right? UI threaded, just because it has to paint on the UI. So what's really cool about Visual Studio 15.7 was that we now have async tool window support. So that means that we can start doing async work before we switch to load, before Visual Studio start loading the actual WPF as part of your tool window. And so in our tool window sort of implementation class here, the one that creates a new My Tool Window control here, the one that creates the SAML element, it's async. You see here? So I can go in here and say projects. So I'll just say var projects equals projects.load. Here, projects.load async, and it needs to await.
You don't let me see. Okay. So you're actually getting the project list there. Got it. Okay.
What is this complaining about? Oh, nothing. Okay. And then we can return my new control and hand it the projects.
Ah, beautiful.
You see?
Yep.
Actually, I need to start learning learn to use.
I know, right? Control dot.
Create constructor with fields, or just add parameters to constructor. That's the one we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can always go in here and say create the fields. Boom. All right. Good, good, good. So now we can initialize our component, and then we can say, let's call this method. What should we? Update project. This is a horrible name. This needs so much refactoring, but I like to just, the way I do it is I kind of start getting things to work first, and then I fix up things.
I totally agree. It's too easy to get stuck in the path of like trying to overthink everything as you're going. It's much better to get something working and then clean it up.
Oh. Am I doing it right? Project.widgets.
Yep.
Yeah, for each widget has projects. It's kind of, shouldn't call it projects. I should have called it something else. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so for each widget.
I'm sorry, but it's funny. There's a complaint that we're not using dark theme. In general, I mean, this is you do stuff with themes all the time, but in general, I've been told, like for my stuff, when I'm coding by myself, I use dark, but when I'm doing a presentation, usually I do light theme because it's easier to read. Sometimes.
Yeah, so let's ask people out there now. I switched to dark. Which one is easier on the eyes? Are there anyone that can't see what's going on? I'm fine doing it in dark theme. I should switch it up every now and again to make it, I don't really care.
Yeah. Oh, and while we're at it,
look
at that.
I don't know what I'm looking at.
Oh, sorry. We're picture in picture now.
Oh my!
Got to use that picture in picture.
So let's create a new label. And this new label has content. Content equals widget dot text. Boom. What are you complaining about? Label is a type which is not valid. Oh yeah, new. And then we have our widgets, children.
Now, is there a red squiggle under the semicolon at the end of text?
Oh yeah.
Widget line. Yeah, widget dot text. Oh, there you go.
Okay. So we could do stuff like, actually we should probably do like single line just to make that easy. So that's text. Then we say for each link in widget links, we can do the same thing. Is there a hyperlink?
I think so.
Oh, I think I've played around. Oh, there is. Documents and inline level flow content that provide for hosting hyperlink. I don't know. I feel like I've gone down this path before and it like was not what I thought it was. Yeah, see? Can't. Hey, how do you do a WPF hyperlink, people out there? I'm just going to do a label for now.
With a click event.
Yeah, exactly. I have to like handle those. Yeah, and then I have to colorize it as link and stuff like that. So
WPF has a hyperlink. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, it seems like that hyperlink tag should work. You set a navigate URI and you put text inside it.
I do it programmatically?
Yeah.
Navigate URI equals probably is a URI. Yeah, that's a URI.
And then you set a content property.
There's not a content property. Content end, content start, name. Oh, name. No, that's like that. That's like an ID in WPF.
Yeah.
Text.
Text pointer.
Text what?
So there's a constructor that includes a text pointer. No. Gosh, it is more complex than it should be.
Yeah, I don't know if it's what we think it is. We'll figure it out. Because one thing we don't do right now is that we don't react to when there's been a change in the active project. So I think what we have to do, well, I don't know. Let's run this. We'll see. This might crash and burn, right? Because what are the odds that this just compiles the first time and then runs? Like, my track record on this show is pretty poor. But let's find out. Because we need to filter, so we only show this when you have a web project running. Okay, I'm going to open my tool window. Oh, look at this.
That's fancy. Wait, are they clickable?
No, I didn't do that part.
Okay, but yeah, that is cool.
So it binds or whatever. So that worked. All that code. Well, I guess it wasn't that much, but
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool.
yeah, that makes me feel good, kind of, you know. So first of all, we decided to call this Help Explorer, right? Let's just make it the V6 name. Come on now. There we go. Okay, so how do we do that?
Yeah.
And by the way, because we're using this theme thing, we get a squiggle here that says it can't find it or whatever, but that's actually not true.
Okay.
Oh, it says it can't find imaging.
Oh, wait.
One of the system cannot find imaging. What? I don't know why that is important. Anyway, but it should support theming. So if we just start, I find it faster to just start the experimental instance like that. See how fast that was. And so now if I change the theme,
I think I found something by the way.
See, theming works.
Inlines. It's the inlines property. Oh, yeah, those are some nice themes.
But you see how it changed background and foreground?
Oh, I see. Yes.
Cool. All that happens just because of that one line.
Because of that themes.
Yeah, that comes from the V6 community toolkit. Yep.
Oh.
Okay, what are you saying, John?
So I think you can use the, whoops, I did the wrong thing. Let's do that. There. Hyperlink, there's an inlines property of hyperlink. So you've got the hyperlink navigate URL. There should be a hyperlink.inlines.
Inlines. It's an inline collection.
Yeah, so you have to add an inline. Or, yeah.
New inline collection.
And you just add the text to it.
Okay, hang on. What, who made that API?
You know, that's always been my thing with WPF is it's you can do all kinds of things with it, but it's like it seems a little over architected at times.
So we're going to add a new.
And you can't set a new collection. You have to, you do hyperlink.inlines.add.
And then name, text, content, new inline. Why is it complaining?
Yeah, you can't do that. You have to do hyperlink.inlines.add.
Okay. So inlines add.
And then you can just do quotes and put in the text.
Ah,
Or instead of quotes, do like whatever the thing is.
yeah, right here.
Link dot.
Wow. That is the most easy to use API that I have ever used. Okay.
Fancy. What's it saying?
See, I can't see that because it's not a control. Hyperlink exists in system windows.documents. It's
Oh
not
my
a
gosh.
framework
Did I
element.
waste your time like that? So you have to add it to a block or something.
You gotta be kidding. Okay, I simply just will not. I do not want to deal with this right now.
Okay.
That is, I feel like that's gonna take longer than to do the rest of the extension.
Well, so all you need to do is create a text block, and then you do text block.inlines.add, and you add that hyperlink.
Yep. So we can say active. So active project type, right? Now we need to filter by active project type. So we need a project. We need a project, which is from the toolkit. Project.active project. We can say bs.solutions.active get active project async. Boom.
Nice.
Okay. Should we just give it a? Let's just give it a project. Okay, so now we need to take our enum. Because I have my active project as a GUID, right? ID. Full path. Is kind.
Oh, wow.
But I don't. Yeah, is kind, but what is the kind? Type. There we go. Oh, no, that's not it. Got text. We got name. So we need to add that to the. We probably need to add that to. So how do I get the kind? So that's IBIS hierarchy. I'm just going to search IBIS hierarchy. Get kind. IBIS hierarchy. Blah, blah, blah. What I really need to do is to search on GitHub. So pro tip, so use GitHub search instead. IBIS hierarchy kind. Really? I have to sign in?
Well, you don't. Wait, you're in an in private thing. Why is it?
Yeah. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Oh. The kind. Oh, project ID GUID. Is that what we're talking about? Project GUID?
I think so.
Uh-huh. Okay, let's look at this again. because then we'll just grab that. Yeah. Okay. So we'll have to run it with a debugger to see what the hell's going on here. But we can say get info, get item info. Go out hierarchy. Out. We don't care about the item ID. What about the item? Let's try that item. Canonical name, children. Canonical name. Text. Hierarchy identity. Is root item ID. And item ID in this case is actually not, it has to do with its location in the hierarchy of files and folders and stuff. It's not like what the ID is. So let's just get the hierarchy and then ask for is it get property? I think it's get property we want.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because you can have multiple different, you can have a solution with ASP.NET and like several different project types, right?
Yeah, exactly. Get property. So it was get GUID. Is it a get GUID property? That take project ID GUID, type GUID, I think is the. We'll see. But get GUID property. Why does it feel like it takes? Here. Oh, prop ID. So it needs the item ID first. Then it needs to take that, and then we have out project GUID. There we go. This has to be an int. And this now complains that it has to be on the UI thread, which is fine because by definition, it has to be on the UI thread here. So that's good. So now we have a project GUID. Now we just need to reverse our project GUID's project types.
What did your code fix do with the UI thread? Did it set an attribute?
Oh, no, it
okay.
throws if we're not on the UI thread.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's to ensure that we by design at design time. At runtime that we crash immediately if this is not adhered to this best practice, right? Okay. So it's kind of just a help. So project type. So here we have all this sort of stuff, but I need to go in and say, get me the name based on the GUID. No, hang on. It's reflection. John, it's because you wanted it to be.
I know.
Okay, so I have to use reflection.
Well, isn't it an enum? You can do enum.get.
No, it's a class with properties.
Oh
yeah, I can't do that. I'll have to. Here, constant. It's just a static class with strings.
Oh. Well.
To
reflect.
Let's just
use the GUID for now.
Let's just use the GUID for now. So I'm just gonna put this GUID right in here. All right. So then it's just string. So what was it here? It was project GUID. Boom. That is a GUID. There we go. Okay. So now in our widget, we first look at project, which is an array for each widget. So we can say if widget dot projects. I have too much. There's too many things called projects here.
I know. They're project types, right?
Yes.
That might make it easier. Yeah.
Okay. So if does not, then we just continue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We bail basically on that widget if it doesn't match.
Yeah.
There's no way that this works. 0.
I'm sure it'll work.
I'm building. At least it compiled. So the first unit has passed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, by the way, I looked more at it, and I know it's a clunky UI, but it's not too bad. You basically like create a text block, you add a hyperlink, and then the hyperlink you add an inline. So
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, so I see. Okay, I got your thing.
Yeah.
So I'll copy that in afterwards. Do we have any? So now that the debugger is attached, it just takes longer. Okay, so
Right.
see, it hasn't even like fully started up yet. Are there any questions while we're?
There was some comments about different, ways to do it, which I think is basically there's a, hey guys, what are we doing here? Which I think I can answer by using this. But I mean, so this is what we're doing. Let me see if I can say it right correctly. We're adding contextual help to Visual Studio in a tool window. And the idea is it's going to look at the different type of project you're running. So it might say, hey, you're building an ASP.NET application or WPF. And then based on that, it's going to show some help. And we're loading that from a JSON file. So right now, the stuff we're doing is kind of mapping, figuring out your project type, looking it up, and loading the JSON file and displaying the information.
Okay. So I don't know if you saw what happened before. So it failed immediately because the active project was null. Because guess what? When I opened Visual Studio, there were no projects loaded, right?
Yep.
So that makes sense. So now we're just going to pivot here on GUID empty. So that means that we should probably in here, let's just create a widget here for an empty project, just because wouldn't that be something? And we're gonna, and so the empty GUID is the characters are here. 8? Yeah. And then 4. Oh. How long is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. 7, 8, 9, 10, 12.
This is an interesting idea from Data Juggler. When you get error details, it also includes your project specific information. A lot of the time, it'll include your path name or your class name or something, and so you have to manually go in and take that out. So that's an interesting idea for an extension to remove that and just, you know what I mean, so it's easier to search.
That's a fantastic idea, and it's useful for other things too, which is for privacy things. So let's say that you want to open a bug on an extension. So for instance, if you use the toolkit, it will automatically log to the output window when there is an exception that's been, something bad happened in your extension.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if you could take that output and just open a bug on say the GitHub issue tracker for that extension. But you don't necessarily want to have all your personally identifiable information in there, such as file names and paths and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so that would be cool. So having like a scrubber that would and it's something that we could use in Microsoft too, because when we collect information and so on, like the whole thing about the whole GDPR and PII and all this sort of stuff, like it's to such a high standard, and we actually do all this scrubbing so that we don't end up getting any of that private information. But it would be nice if it was just a NuGet package. You could like give it a string and it will automatically understand what to remove.
Yeah. And especially contextually, you can look up, what is my project name? What is the class name? Like you can understand what's going on a bit.
Right. Okay. There we go. Empty good. But anyway, so this will probably work when there is no project loaded. But I doubt that we're going to get the...
I accidentally hit shutdown.
Of what?
Wait just a second. Let me see if I can cancel. I tapped my computer's power button and it's like shutting down. Fortunately, I had a few programs open. It was like, wait a minute.
Do the Hanselman trick of leaving Notepad in a dirty state.
Always. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So absolutely nothing happened over here. I should probably have said that. It might be the whole toString thing. That's annoying that I forgot to do that.
Can we debug it and see? Is it not getting to that? Or?
Well, hang on. Yes, events. Selection events. Select context change. Selection change. Selection of what? Object center. Selection. Okay, E. What's E? Oh. From what? Aha, from a solutions item to a solution item. Okay, there we go.
Wow.
Okay. So that I can use that, but I wonder if there's one that's active project change, so we don't have to like manually keep track of. So that might be solution events. Project. This is project loaded on before loaded. Okay, let's try the built-in solution events. Solution event. Oh, and this is like micro. Oh no. Microsoft Visual Studio Shell events, solution events. On after async open, on back, on after change project parent. After load deferred, on after load. On before project okay, wow. On before project registered in running document table.
That's a novel.
I just rolled off your tongue. And I think this is the only event class that we have in this particular. Yeah. Okay, so we do it this way. So let's just do it on from and to. That's fine. So that means that I need to probably take this here thing, move out and up here. I will then take this and extract into, I call this what? This is about like getting the active project, get active project GUID. Let's just call it that for now.
Wow, we just got another raid. We're up to 217 people watching. Welcome, everybody.
I wonder if it's because on Twitter, what did I say? Like, do you want to see someone stumble through writing an extension?
Well, it could be, but a lot of them are coming in on Twitch. So I'm not sure who just rated us, but thank you. Welcome. And just as an update, here's what we're doing. I am watching Mad's code. We're building a tool window, and it's in Visual Studio 2022. And what it's doing is it's watching for the different project types you open, and it's showing contextual help. So it'll say based on like, oh, you don't have any project open. Here's some ways to get started, or you're working with ASP.NET, and and then like you had said earlier, Mads, it can be smart. Like it could say, hey, you keep using this thing. Did you know there's a keyboard shortcut or something like that?
Yeah, right. So right now, what I'm doing, John, is that I'm in WPF. I'm doing async inside WPF. So what I'm gonna have to do for this to work. So I'm reacting to when a selection changes, when a new file has changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, the selection of a file has changed. I want to react to that, but I don't want to do it on the main thread. I want to move that to the background thread. There's no reason to kind of do that. So I want to move that to after anything interesting has happened. And also I'm using an async API, so I'm kind of forced to move to a background thread. So what I'll do is that I'll get the project, and we can also just lift this code. I mean, we have it right here. Get active project. So I could just, boom. There we go. All right, so I'm calling await, and this one says,
That's a lot there.
Observe the awaitable result of this method call by awaiting it. Well, I don't really care to await this, to observe it. I'm okay just throwing it away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to fire and forget this thing. Okay, so that's a toolkit method here. So what I'm doing now is that I'm starting to run a background task using the thread helper's joinable task factory. In this case, it means that it won't do anything till it gets to the, it has time to do it. And inside my get active project, I think I'm doing a switch to main thread statement. So I'm calling the thread helper again to switch to the main thread. That's what's going to happen inside this method here, get active project. That means that when I change the file, some background task is kicked off. There might still be foreground tasks that are running.
Yep.
Whenever they're done running, then it goes in and runs the get active async to completion. Get active project async to completion. So that means that I'm delayed, and I'm fine delayed. It doesn't have to be instant, right? It's okay that it's like milliseconds delayed. That's way more important, such that Visual Studio remains fast and snappy. Then we're not blocking the UI thread. We're not like taking time that is otherwise better spent on actually maybe opening that file that you were going to open, right? Or whatever it is that you're doing.
Especially because if you're changing the active file, I mean, you could be doing it via the tabs at the top, but you may be doing it even in Solution Explorer. And so that help tab may not even be displayed, right? Not always.
Yeah. Okay, John, I copied in your code.
All right. I mean, it's,
No, this is, this works, right? You said that there was 100% guarantee this worked the first time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the pseudocode.
See? What is this with a text block? Because it's because I didn't case it right. Here we go. All right, let's go. I'm going to set a breakpoint. Where? Here.
My IDE for today is the comments in StreamYard.
What do we must have? There's so many comments today. Wow.
I know there's a lot. Jennersku saying this is totally hacking Visual Studio. Is
so we're living up to this. The show is living up to its new name, huh?
Yep.
Oh, hang on. Matt Lacey has an extension to help with searching errors. Oh, I've seen that one. Yeah, that's a cool one. So that's back to the whole idea that if you have errors in the error list, how do you then like search for something like that? If you just copy directly from the error list, you get stuff like all the columns in the error list. And I think he fixes that. He adds something to the context menu. Just right-click the error and say search on Google.
I need that.
Okay, we got a project GUID. It's empty. It's empty. So let's wait a minute. Why does the widget not contain project GUID? Okay, we have that one. So widget and project GUID is this. Oh, when I toString a GUID. Yes, it doesn't do the curly braces,
right? Yeah.
So what I need to do. is actually that I need to convert.
Or maybe just your file doesn't need to include those braces.
I mean, this is silly
Yeah.
because
I
I
mean,
should
you
do,
could
I
just
should do that
match.
at the deserialization step, right?
Yeah. So you could just change your JSON file to not include the braces there. I mean, that's a
That would be
valid
even
point.
easier.
Yeah.
But this code needs to be way more resilient than what it is right here, obviously.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. You know, Rome wasn't built in one day.
Hacking goods.
Okay. Wildcard references. I didn't even know wildcard references was a thing. Did we do wildcard references?
So I think what that means is like the globbing thing for
The MS Build files?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
That was my guess is what they're saying.
Oh, working on it. Did you see that it said working on it?
Yeah.
That's because it's an async window. So notice what happened. The window was created. The tool window was created.
Yeah.
And then asynchronously, it starts now to do the work to, to run your code in the background, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. Okay, so now, yes, it did not. So, okay. I'm just going to F5. Let's run this.
It's totally going to work.
Yeah. Well.
Well.
Invalid a specified element is already the logical child of another element. Really? Disconnected first. Okay, we can do that. Line 64.
Control G.
Toggle line comment. Control G. What?
Yep, and then just type in 64.
Oh, yeah, I could just do that. Oh.
Oh, because you created a label.
Yeah. Okay. So this time, I'm going to fix up some things, and I know that I'm going to get a issue down here, so I forgot to do this. So let's remove this. And I want to remove all this here. Okay.
Yeah.
I think so. With this, I think we are off to a good start. And then per widget type, I will just add a new JSON file, and then rename the things from like instead of projects, I'll rename it to something clever. I'm there should be an interface for these things too, right? So that you can have
multiple. Yeah.
That or a base class. I'm kind of a base class type person. When I don't have to do something that other people needs to consume. I know some people they're like really against base classes, or they really strongly prefer interfaces. I guess now that you can have default implementation in interfaces, it's kind of fine.
Yeah, it takes some of that away. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's just hit F5.
Question here about if there's hot reload support for VS extensions.
No. I haven't dealt. We talked about it last time. Well, I haven't dived into it enough. I mean, there is a little bit. So for instance, so here we have our panel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where are you? So we should be able to set margins on this. Boom. See
Oh,
that?
that's cool.
Uh-huh.
So
So
yes.
yeah, there's a
Follow on
little
hot
bit.
reload. Yeah.
You can improve startup by Help Explorer. Okay, John.
Yeah.
I'm zooming in here, and you tell me why we got this. This is something that I get this question sometimes.
Auto
Why
hiding.
you can improve startup performance by hiding or collapsing the Help Explorer window. That's the thing we're working on right now.
Well, that's rude.
I agree. The reason for this is that I attached the debugger and I was stepping through, right?
Oh, so it
It's startup.
detected. Yeah.
Yes, because it's a UI threaded. When it gets to my code behind for my WPF, that's all UI threaded, and so it takes so because I was step debugging, it was complaining that it took a long time. It didn't know that I was step debugging, right? You could argue that, hey, Visual Studio in the experimental instance should know that I'm like working on extensions and therefore shouldn't be bothering me with stuff like this. But that's the reason why it's there, basically.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, so some hot reload works.
Well, and I mean, we got some links going on too. That's pretty cool.
Uh-huh. And what is that? There is like that. What is that live preview thing in WPF? That works too. It'll actually load the whole experimental instance up inside. Where is that? I can't figure it out. Okay, so let's open a ASP.NET Core project. Now, I don't know if this is accurate. Let's see here. If it's going to match my GUID and my JSON file here.
Yeah, this is.
So we got a question. Will we ever be able to build an extension in .NET 5 and 6? Yes. So the new extensibility model that is currently being worked on, that people have been, the team has been blogging a little bit about it already for the last 6 months. That will open the door for that. So it's still a little bit far out in the future, but
Preparing solution.
There's two ways it can happen. There's two ways you can write in .NET 5. You can either run the code out of proc, or Visual Studio itself runs .NET 5 or 6. Right? It's written in .NET 5 and 6. Those are the two ways that you can do that. Obviously, Visual Studio is not written in Visual .NET 5 or 6. It's 2022 is on .NET Framework 4.8.
All right, it did not detect. Oh, yeah? Is it a breakpoint? No.
Did nothing happen?
Nothing changed.
Oh, get active project, but I don't actually update the project.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you believe it?
So after, so yeah, the line after, yeah.
So I could call. So okay, so fire and forget. So and then say update projects.
Yeah.
But at this point, I want to make sure that I'm actually on the main thread. Because if I'm not on the main thread, WPF itself will throw an exception once I just do this, create a new label. It can only do that on the main thread. That is just how it is. So, okay. What else do we have? Can you translate what does far out mean? 1 year, 2 years? Yes, it's 2 years or more. Well, we'll be able to start using it already now, kind of, for a few things like language server protocol stuff. Like there's some basic stuff you can do today in Visual Studio 2022 for language server protocol only. So you can't do anything else. You can't add a button or anything. And so more and more APIs will come into this new extensibility model over time. That's why it's going to take so long, because every single API is going to be completely rewritten from scratch, right? And so that's just gonna take a while. There's just no way around it. Yeah, so it needs a little bit more work for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like with this project, there's two things we can do. There's two panels we can do. The first one here is, hey, you're using .NET project. Here's some links for our ASP.NET, right? The other one is like, hey, you're using ASP.NET project. Here are some extensions that we can recommend you that people find useful for .NET.
Yeah.
So those two we can do with what we got now already. So that's kind of good.
You know, I was thinking too, we don't have to use reflection to load those. Like you could basically copy those things out of that class and create your own hash map or whatever that includes the GUIDs and the names if you wanted to.
That's true.
I mean, it's a little hacky, but that's the name of the show.
That's true. That is very true. And it would be, well, yeah. The nice thing about the GUIDs is that they never change, right? If I have a friendly name, then that might be updated. But the GUID is kind of immutable.
Yeah.
So
it makes it less user-friendly to add content to the section. You have to look up a GUID from some magical place. You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking this would be nice. You could actually take pull requests on this or read this JSON file from a source. You know what I mean? And because that content's going to change over time, right?
yeah. Oh, look at this. This is the project type for ASP.NET something. This looks like a regular, oh no, FA. This is C# project. This is an old school C# project, isn't it? I'm just going to store this somewhere. But that's not going to trigger anything now. So it's going to stay. It's not going to update, you see? Hey, but it works. See the links? The links actually looks like they're real links.
Which is cool.
And there was an update. Go ahead.
I wonder if it's because it's the minimal API and it's not using the full-on ASP.NET Core project GUID.
Maybe. Oh. All right, so now we got that whole thing triggering and working, so that's just wonderful. So what I probably should do is I should test for, I could pause the event handler, right? That listens for when the selection changes. I could pause that so that it only works when the window is visible.
Yeah, but I mean, you would still want to load them in the background, maybe, or maybe you wouldn't, maybe.
Yeah, but there's just no reason to do that work if the window is not visible, right?
Yeah.
So
well, I'm trying to think. Let's say you do switch over to it, then you could trigger a load at that point.
Yeah, so it will. So there will be. I'll have to listen to the event of like when it's visible and not.
Yeah.
But that's good. So now we're good to go here. I'm just going to close this down. And I updated I inserted that GUID. There we go.
Do you have a standard, like for these, do you have a standard like logging framework or something that you use like for diagnostics? And
no.
Okay.
You know what I do? If I need to do like which I do need to do, try catch. Let's say we want to wrap this in a try catch, right? Control K S, surround with try. So it would give me an exception like this. I would then say ex.log. That log method will take whatever is here and log into the output window.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. So me as an extension author, I will not see this error, but the user might see it. And if they want to report an issue, they can like copy that, stack trace from the output window directly into. And the cool thing is it gives me the line numbers and stuff. It's not like because the PDB file by default ships within a v6 container. So all the symbols are there. So when it does show the error, it shows you what line of code it was on and what the name of the code file was, because the PDB file is there. So it's a
nice.
really strong sort of diagnostics message that you do get, even though that you as an extension author don't get it. But you can use application insights, Raygun, whatever, Google Analytics, whatever you want for like getting telemetry and logging. Just please write a privacy notice in your README file. It has come up before where some companies, they're like getting really pissed when they find out after the fact that an extension phones home or connects to the internet, because some just have very strict security policies, some bigger companies. So just make sure that you make that transparent. If you do logging, just note it on the marketplace page or the README file so that people know, and maybe even give them a way to opt out.
Yeah. But it is nice from a developer point of view to know, hey, this is crashing on half the user, because a lot of the time you just don't get that information.
Yeah. So nice. Data Juggler asked if this .log method is new. It's in the toolkit. So it comes in with the Visual Studio Toolkit, Community Visual Studio Toolkit. It has an extension method for exceptions that does this. So when you call, there's also a log async. That then it will then log to here, right? Log async system. Yep. So it logs to the output window. Notice here what we're doing now. So I've updated all the templates and everything, and it's now using the NuGet package. Now has the version number that it applies to. So when you're using the toolkit, so that's really makes it really, really easy. So if you're using, like in this case, the Community Visual Studio Toolkit 17, that means that you cannot target anything below 17, right? You can't target Visual Studio 2019 or 2017 or 2015 because you can't go down. It's not, we're not forwards. APIs are not forwards compatible. They're backwards compatible. So you can always use you can usually always use a lower version, but you can never use a higher version of the API. So that makes that much easier to see, and you get the right NuGet package.
Cool. I got a question on, like what's the show schedule and that kind of thing. So I just added this here. This is, you can find out recordings of all the shows, including this show. You can get to those from live.net, and then you can also see our show schedule, upcoming shows there too.
Yep. Cool. I think we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for watching, and we had a large number of people today, so that was fantastic.
We had 200-ish the whole day. I think this is a really interesting question. So like coming up, you're going to keep working on this? Is that the plan?
I think I should. Probably what I will do is that I will clean it up, like do the better naming. I might identify more GUIDs and stuff, and like started to fill in the JSON file, so that we can start working on some of the more implementation of new things instead of just like improving kind of existing things or filling in content.
What I'm thinking could be neat with this is, if it's something, once you are able to publish it, then people can contribute to the JSON for this, and can send in pull requests and add in some content. I mean, we have a bunch of stuff up on the .NET site that includes a bunch of information, and, it'd be great to link to some of that stuff. Yep.
Yeah. No, I should just put it on GitHub now, right?
Yeah.
Create Git repository. What should we call it? Help Explore.
Sure.
It's not private. Okay. That's it. So this is now up on github.com/Matt Kristensen. Let's go here. Repositories. Help Explore. Boom. There it is.
I'm getting the link here.
So there's no README or anything yet, right? So just have patience. All that will come. Folder structure needs to be updated, and cool. So I think I'm going to do a bunch of housekeeping till next time. Next week is not happening because next week is happening. It's the week after that we have Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So so we'll keep working on this next week.
Great. Okay. Yeah, that's exciting. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, yeah.
Awesome. I guess now we play the happy song and wave goodbye to everybody.
Yep. Thank you, John, for the help, and thank everyone for watching. I hope you have a great weekend out there.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.